Hey gardening friends, ready to grow healthier plants, bigger harvests, and smarter gardens? Let's get started.
Have you ever wondered why the same plant in your garden keeps dying no matter how much you water it, feed it, or spray it? What if the only thing standing between you and a thriving garden was something you already own, sitting quietly in your bathroom cabinet right now? Welcome to the Smart Gardener, the place where we turn simple old wisdom into real results for the plants you love. If this is your first time with us, take a moment to subscribe, because every week we dig into the kind of garden truths nobody at the store wants you to know. Picture this. Your tomatoes are wilting. Your cucumbers are turning yellow from the bottom up. You have already spent $40, $50, even $80 on bottles and powders from the garden center, and nothing has worked. Today, that changes. I am going to show you one simple, inexpensive bottle, the same one trusted by gardeners for generations, proven again and again by real research, that quietly solves more problems in your garden than almost anything else you own. So, why does root rot happen in the first place? Picture the soil around your plant's roots staying wet for too long, day after day, because the drainage is poor or you have been watering just a little too often. Without enough air pockets in that soil, the roots begin to suffocate, and that suffocated, oxygen-starved environment is exactly where harmful fungi love to move in and take hold. Researchers at a university plant pathology department actually tested this directly, and what they found was striking. Even a fairly low concentration of hydrogen peroxide, the same 3% strength sitting in your medicine cabinet, was strong enough to completely stop the growth of the most common root rot fungi in laboratory trials. That is not folklore. That is documented science. Here is how simple the fix is. Take 1 tablespoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide and stir it into 1 cup of water. Then pour that solution slowly around the base of the struggling plant, letting it soak all the way down into the root zone. But let me be honest with you, because honesty matters more than a quick fix. Peroxide alone will not save a plant if you keep overwatering it. You also need to trim away the soft, blackened roots and ease up on your watering habit. Do all three together, and the roots have a real chance to breathe again. Now, while you are already standing there with that bottle in your hand, there is something else hiding nearby that most gardeners completely overlook. Those pots and tools sitting in your shed since last season, they are not as clean as they look. Fungal spores survive winter on old containers, waiting quietly to attack your seedlings the moment you plant again, which is exactly why so many young plants mysteriously die in their second week of life. Now, let's talk about something almost magical that happens before a seed even breaks the surface, something most gardeners never stop to think about. Every seed carries a built-in survival switch, a hormone that keeps it sleeping safely through the cold winter months so it doesn't sprout too soon and freeze before it ever has a chance. It's nature's way of protecting that tiny spark of life inside. The problem is that switch doesn't always know exactly when spring has truly arrived. Sometimes it stays stubbornly asleep long after the soil has warmed, leaving you staring at an empty seed tray, wondering if you did something wrong. Soaking seeds in a gentle hydrogen peroxide solution does 2 remarkable things at once. First, it softens that tough outer shell, allowing water to finally seep through and reach the living tissue inside. Second, and this is the part most people never hear about, it actually breaks down the very hormone responsible for keeping the seed in that deep sleep, gently nudging it awake faster and far more reliably than waiting on nature alone. This is not a guess. And it's not some old wives' tale passed around without proof. Researchers testing this exact method on seeds found that germination rates improved by more than 70% compared to soaking in plain water alone. 70%. Think about what that really means for a moment. Seeds you assumed had lost their spark, the forgotten ones sitting at the bottom of a drawer in a paper packet from 2 or 3 seasons ago, the ones you almost threw away, can come back to life with surprising consistency once they receive this gentle wake-up call. It's almost like giving them permission to finally grow. The process couldn't be simpler. Just mix 1 teaspoon of hydrogen peroxide into 1 cup of warm water. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. Let your seeds soak anywhere from a few hours to overnight, depending on their size. The smaller ones waking faster, the larger ones needing a bit more patience. Then plant them right away while they're still moist, because letting them dry back out undoes much of the benefit. But the story doesn't end underground, not by a long shot. Once summer humidity rolls in and the air turns thick and heavy, a different enemy quietly shows up, this time on the leaves themselves. That powdery white film, or those telltale brown spots that seem to spread across squash and tomato plants almost overnight, turning healthy green leaves into something you barely recognize. You watch helplessly as it climbs higher each day. The good news is the very same diluted solution, sprayed gently across the leaves in the cool of early morning before the sun gets harsh, can stop that fungus right in its tracks before it spreads any further. Just remember, and this matters, this spray handles fungus and fungus alone. It won't touch insects, and it won't help against bacterial disease. So always test it on a single leaf first, wait a full day, and only then treat the rest of the plant with confidence. But what about the soil itself? The ground every root depends on. When that soil gets compacted, when it sits heavy and waterlogged after a hard rain, it traps roots in a suffocating, low-oxygen environment, and that is exactly the kind of condition where disease quietly takes hold. Here is something deeper than most gardeners ever hear. Agricultural researchers studying tired, overworked soil discovered that hydrogen peroxide does more than hand roots a quick breath of air. It actually begins reshaping the community of microorganisms living in that soil, nudging the balance back towards something healthier. Mix 1 tablespoon into 1 quart of water and water the affected area as you normally would, once a week, through the wettest stretch of the season. But hear me clearly, this is a supporting hand, not a permanent cure. The real fix is improving that soil for the long run, working in compost, easing up on watering, giving those roots room to breathe on their own. Now, if you bring your gardening indoors, especially late in winter when you're starting seedlings on a windowsill, there's a tiny troublemaker you already know all too well. Those little flies hovering just above the soil every time you water. Their larvae live right at the surface, soft-bodied and completely exposed, which makes them an easy target for that same fizzing, oxidizing reaction. But here's the honest part. Nobody tells you. That treatment kills the larvae, not the eggs, so you'll need to repeat it about a week later to break the cycle for good, and letting the soil surface dry out a little between waterings keeps them from coming back at all. So here we are, back where we started, with one small, plain bottle that costs almost nothing, yet quietly handles roots, tools, seeds, leaves, soil, and even those frustrating little flies, all without a single trip down the specialty aisle. There's something deeply comforting about that, isn't there? This isn't some new trend or a clever marketing trick. It's simple knowledge that quieter generations before us understood and passed down, often without ever writing it on paper, just hand to hand, garden to garden. So here's what I want you to do. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Walk outside today. Look at whatever is struggling in your garden right now, and try just one of these methods this evening. Then, come find us in the comments and tell us which one you tried, or better yet, share a trick your own mother or grandfather once taught you in the garden. Those stories matter, and we read every single one. If today's video helped you, do us a favor and subscribe to The Smart Gardener so we can keep bringing these old, honest lessons back into the light, together. Because the best gardens, much like the best lives, are often built quietly, one simple truth at a time.